So you lost the Solrock Lunatone yet again. I get it. It's rough playing against the Solrock Lunatone deck. These super annoying Sun and Moon Pokemon. They have very low HP, but it just seems like there is just a relentless wave of damage, and it feels like there's nothing you can do to slow it down because they're constantly hitting for over 100 every single turn. And this can be particularly bad if you're running a VMAX deck where they only have to hit you 4 times to win, and you have to knock out 6 of these Lunatones. It's absolutely nuts. However, the Solrock Lunatone deck is totally beatable. We're going to talk about some potential counters, stuff that any deck can run, as well as some deck-specific techs. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe. Don't do the thumbs down. No, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about some ways you can beat the Solrock Lunatone deck. Now, depending on the deck that you're running, I know it's a super popular deck online right now. Do you want a tech specifically for Solrock Lunatone? Depending on what deck you're running, maybe you might want a tech specifically for it. If you are, and some of the universal answers that any deck can run are Collapse Stadium. This is a great stadium which shortens their bench a little bit. Yours as well, so that might be a problem if you're running a deck that needs to go wide. But having to shrink their bench from 5 down to 4 means they lose. They potentially lose the Greninja to, that helps them discard energy, could lose the Manaphy, could lose a Solrock, which then makes their damage 30 less. And having that just to disrupt their tempo a little bit is a great tool to have. And it's also going to help you in other matchups as well, like Palkia, for example. So Collapse Stadium, I think you can fit in there for more than just Solrock Lunatone. Another card that absolutely destroys them is Avery. This allows you to draw 3 cards and shorten their bench, just their bench, down to 3 Pokemon. And if you watched the video last week where I was playing Solrock Lunatone, I got wombo comboed into Oblivion by Dialga V-Star, where they played Avery. I had to discard 2 of my Pokemon. They used Star Chronos, knocked out 2 more Pokemon, and then I just had nothing left. Even if you're not running Dialga specifically, having just 1 Avery could make a massive difference in the outcome of that game. So definitely another card to consider. This also helps you in the Palkia matchup as well, or other matchups where they want to go very wide with their deck. From there, if let's talk about some other things that from a global level, like what are things you can look out for. Keep an eye on their scoop up nets. This is an incredibly important card to the Solrock Lunatone deck, where each time they use a scoop up net on a Solrock, they can put the Solrock back down, attach another energy, and do an extra 30 damage. If they are, keep in mind how many scoop up nets they have used throughout the match, because you might be in a scenario where you see that they're low on nets or they have no nets, and during a time where you might hit the concede button, you actually shouldn't, because they're not going to be able to do enough damage to knock you out. So keep a very close attention to their scoop up nets. I would also say keep an eye on how they distribute their energy between Solrocks and Lunatones. I have found that there are times where people put too much energy on the active Solrock and not enough on the one on the bench, and they end up doing unnecessary damage that doesn't change the outcome of the game. And where possible, try and exploit scenarios like that. Okay, some other sort of general potential techs. If you can run any sort of defense, such as a Cape of Toughness or a Big Charm, that can help there, because there is kind of a cap on how much damage they can do, particularly early on in the game. And if you can just throw those numbers off just a little bit, it can be enough to help you grind through the match. And healing is a big one as well, if your deck can support it. So something like if you're playing an Arceus Duraludon deck and you can use a Hyper Potion to discard 2 energy and attack again without losing any momentum, that's something to consider. If you're playing an Arceus or a Blissey, Sharon's Care is an absolute godsend, where you can just wipe your active Pokemon off, the active, put in a new Pokemon on the bench, and just keep looping. And that's all you can kind of just win the war of attrition that way. And for certain decks that are running, that can run Cheryl, yeah, again, Cheryl is absolutely amazing for being able to just heal off a bunch of damage. And even if you might just use that to then move that Pokemon off the active and then put something else on the active to get hit instead, could help stall for time. In terms of like Pokemon specific ones or deck specific techs, water types generally have, especially if you're playing Palkia, geez, you get so many different options. Definitely look at any sort of single prize attackers you have on your bench, so that allow you to keep the prize trade kind of even. So if you're playing a quick shooting Inteleon, or a shady dealings Inteleon combined with Raihan to get that extra attachment in, just so that you're only losing a prize when you get hit while you can still take them out, that is absolutely handy to have. If you're playing a fire deck, Galarian Moltres is incredibly handy here as well to do the same thing, just to trade 1-for-1 rather than losing an Entei or a Charizard V-Star or anything like that. If you are running the Flying Pikachu at all, and you don't necessarily need Arceus to get the benefit of this. I know Arceus Flying Pikachu is one of the top archetypes in the game, but if you don't have Arceus and you still want to win this matchup, you can run a deck with the Flaffy engine, charge up your Flying Pikachu, and Flying Pikachu's max balloon attack prevents all damage from basic Pokemon. And once you get the setup, they basically lose. So that's a thing you can consider as well for electric types. If you are playing a dark deck, Galarian Weezing destroys, actually does a really good job of shutting down the Solrock Lunatone deck, because neutralizing gas turns off all abilities except for neutralizing gas, and then they just can't charge up their Solrocks, and you just grind them out for the win. Some other potential techs as well. Radiant Greninja, as mentioned by Mama Snooki in the chat. If you're running Palkia and your opponent hasn't put down a Manaphy, Radiant Greninja, put the energy on, and then Moonlight Shuriken, knock out two of their Pokemon, and there's a very good chance from there that you can take the win. Some other techs, if you're playing a single prize deck, particularly Zorobox, you're gonna have Slowbro in your deck anyway, but the move Twilight Inspiration, which allows you to take 2 prizes if they've got 1 prize left and you're 1 prize behind, this is absolutely a clutch card that can help you win in the prize race there. This one's a cheeky tech that you can add to a Palkia deck, which is Ice Cube, and you can use your energy charging move to charge up Block Face. You hit for 70 damage, and Ice Cube prevents all damage from basic Pokemon, so it just can't get hit, kind of like Flying Pikachu there as well. And last but not... Okay, 2 other things. If you're running against the Solrock Lunatone deck that has Mewtwo in it, I personally think that the Mewtwo is kind of a vulnerability and probably the weak link of the deck. I would try and attack Mewtwo, especially if it's just Mewtwo V, which is a really good 2 prize Pokemon to knock out in 1 hit if that opportunity is available to you. And last but not least, I mean, I shouldn't be... Mew players already have all of the tech in the world anyway, but if you're playing against a Solrock Lunatone deck, make sure when you've got your Mew VMAX set up, look at copying the move Psychic Leap. What you're going to do is use 1 Power Tablet, use Psychic Leap, get the KO, and get this Mew out of here. This is a little tricky because you have to sequence it in a way where you're not losing too much by using Psychic Leap. But what this does is gets your Mew out of play. You can put a single prize Pokemon like a Meloetta or a Choreo to get that 1/1 prize trade, and then bring in another Mew or Meloetta later to then attack. So there you go. I'm sure there are more sort of tech options to beat the Solrock Lunatone. Those are just a couple to keep in mind. Oh, last but not least, if you've got a Rapid Strike deck or a deck that runs Medicham, if you can get the damage to a point where Medicham can do a yoga loop and then take a second turn, look into that as well. All right, with that, I hope that is enough of a starting point to get your brain juices flowing on how you can beat the Solrock Lunatone. If you've got any more recos and other strats on how to beat this deck, let me know in the chat or let me know in the comments. All right. Oh yeah, that's it. One more. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I was about to end the video there, not the stream. Empoleon. I have that card, right? Yeah, last but not least, my goodness, Empoleon V. Again, water has all of the tech right now. Empoleon V has the ability Emperor's Eyes, where as long as it's in the active, you can shut off opponent's basic Pokemon in play, have no abilities, and it just shuts off the Solrocks as well. All right, now we're actually done. If you've got any more suggestions, comments, let me know in the chat or in the comments. Otherwise, well, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.